Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In February this year, I invested some of my own money with Moneyfarm when I did their review. And this video is going to have a look at how much they've managed to deliver for me in performance. We're going to touch on charges, and we're also going to talk about that age-old argument, active versus passive investing. All right, so look, first and foremost, let's have a little bit of an overview of Moneyfarm. I would strongly encourage you, though, if you want the full rundown, go and watch this video right here. This is a thumbnail. I'm going to link that with a card above as well. Go and watch that video. It will break it down really nicely in terms of giving you a very, very nice introduction to Moneyfarm. But in a nutshell, to give you kind of like a very high level view, they are an active investment service. So in other words, if you're the kind of person that's just really, really busy with life, career, business, family, on just doing things that you would rather do instead of looking at investment news and tweaking your portfolio every 3 months, 6 months, or half a year or once a year, then these guys will do all of the heavy lifting. They'll do all of the thinking for you. They'll keep you up to date with your portfolio. If they do rebalance, they'll tell you exactly when they're rebalancing, what they've done, the reason behind it, so on and so forth. They'll just be a really safe pair of hands for you. So if you're in that ilk, maybe consider having a look at them. I will leave a link to them down below as well. Now, in terms of performance, I've been with them since February, and this year's been a little bit of it's been a weird year. We've been talking about inflation and the markets trailing off, and we've got the whole new COVID variant right now, which has seen the markets do nonsense on Thursday, Friday last week, and they've recovered today. It's just a little volatile at this point in time. And volatile markets for an active investment proposition is actually really, really good because you've got a team of professionals that are constantly looking at opportunities within the markets, and volatility essentially presents opportunities for them to enjoy. And this is probably where we will have a look at maybe touching on active versus passive, because there's a universe of content out here that will tell you that passive is the way to go 100% of the time. And I just simply don't agree with that, because I think in most cases, and some cases at least, sometimes you shouldn't be invested on a passive trajectory. Sometimes you can get a better performance from an active portfolio. So this is my portfolio within Moneyfarm. So I invested 1,500 with them back in February. And as you can see, the performance on this right now is 10.98%. So the value is up to £1,664.68. Pretty good performance, I think, because it's only been in there for what? Maybe 10 months roughly. So that's about 1% every single month. It's double-digit returns. I think this is a really good return. But let me just walk you through the portfolio makeup. So Moneyfarm have 7 portfolios specifically that they operate on. And when you open your account with them, you have to go through a range of questions. And those range of questions will plot you within a number of options within their portfolio. So for example, you may be recommended a 3, 4, or 5 in terms of their portfolio numbers. I've gone very high risk at their 7. So this is majority equity. It's got a little bit of bonds, but it's majority equity. So high risk within this portfolio. So it's a 7, all right? Now, the makeup of this is I've got some developed markets government bonds. I've got some high yield and emerging market bonds. So these will be essentially corporate bonds and government bonds, effectively. I think majority government bonds. As you can see, the allocations right there. Developed world markets, so developed world equities, and I've got emerging market equities as well. Now I've got a little bit in cash. Now, as you can see, this is very, very high risk. So essentially my equity allocation to this is about, what's that? 88%, roughly. Then I've got just under 10% in bonds, then 2.64% in cash. Now, if I go into the portfolio composition, which is, I would always recommend that you actually do this, because even if you're outsourcing it, it's important for you to understand where it's actually going to be invested. So for me, I know that I've got global sovereign bonds here. I've got emerging market bonds right here as well. I'm more interested in the equity side of things. So this is the quantity in terms of units and where they're invested, so you can see what the allocation is going to be. I've got US equities, I've got S&P 500. This is sterling hedge. So this is going to be held in pounds to hedge against the currency risk, the exchange rate risk, which is a neat trick that they do. So I've got a little bit there. I've got 5 units within here. This is currently up 20.36%. Moving on, we also have UK equities, which is the FTSE 100, 2 units there. That's up 5.67. I've got Euro equities, 7 units, 16.15%. That's up right now. I've got developed markets up 11.5. I've got Japan, which is 0.03 up. Having a bit of a rough time. Then the other element that I've got here, which is 5 units, so that's 10 units in the United States. This isn't hedged, by the way, so this will be held in dollars. This is the S&P 500. This one's up 19.78%. If I come back out of this, my biggest holding is this one right here, which is a global markets equity fund, which is hedged to the pound. The performance on this is 15.63%. Now, when you employ an active manager, their job isn't just to look at one territory. Their job is to look at a global approach so that you've got diversification and you're spreading your risk. Remember, this is all about not putting all of your eggs in one basket. So as professional investors, those are the fundamental principles that they're going to be following. Now, this is probably where we need to address the elephant in the room, because I know that many people will be saying, well, Pete, you're saying that you've got 10.98% return since February this year, but if I had put that money into the S&P 500, I would have at least doubled that return. And you would be wrong and also right. So let's have a look at the S&P 500. The S&P 500 year to date has returned 23.94%. Now, the reason why you can't make that direct comparison is because you're not comparing apples with apples. You're actually comparing oranges and apples, and they're two different things. The reason for that is this. So within the portfolio within Moneyfarm, you've only got a limited exposure to the S&P 500. You've got other things included within your portfolio, which doesn't make the comparison of the S&P 500 remotely appropriate, even remotely fair, because you haven't got 100% of your money in the S&P 500. Now, for many people, this may be a convenient way to sidestep the point of, oh, the S&P 500 is performing extremely well. Why not just go and put all of your money into the S&P 500? That may be a good argument for some. But if you are looking to invest, it's really important to understand the nature of the beast that you're invested in. With a global approach, essentially you're giving yourself the best chance from a global territory point of view or a global geographic point of view to be able to take advantage of peaks and troughs in different global markets and benefit from the growth and manage your risk appropriately. Now, I've got the S&P 500 within Vanguard, and actually this is going to be a really good case in point for the point that I'm about to make right now. The S&P 500 is purely a US market fund. It is geographically located in the US. All of the companies are literally from the US. They're headquartered in the US, majority of them, if not all of them, albeit international companies. And therefore, with the S&P 500, you haven't got global diversification. You haven't got a global approach. You've got a geographic-centric, US-centric investment proposition, which arguably gives you more risk, more exposure to risk. And when you're looking to manage your risk and spread your risk across as many eggs and baskets as you can, that can be problematic if the US economy, for whatever reason, decides to take a bit of a dump. Now, many people who have just started investing won't remember 2007, won't remember 2008. So you may be saying, you're talking absolute nonsense, Pete, but you have to live through a crash like that to understand how important it is to have market diversification. So it's really important not to have a look at one particular fund and say, well, that performance is rubbish because the S&P 500 has done this. And that brings me to my own portfolio within Vanguard, where I have put money into the S&P 500. I'm only up 1.3% right now. And this is one other thing that people don't quite understand, is that despite the fact that the S&P 500 year to date is up by 23.94%, your point of entry is really, really important. Now, this does lead me on to maybe one of the bigger arguments that people have against active investing in favor of passive investing, and that is charges. look, there's no way of getting around the fact that passive investments are going to be cheaper than active investments because of the nature of how they're built. Passive investments are designed to basically track and mirror an index. S&P 500, FTSE 100, FTSE 250, the Nikkei, the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, whatever that index is, a passive investment will pretty much just copy and mirror that journey. Again, great if the markets are going up, really, really bad if the markets are going down. So you're going to pay extra for the expertise of a team looking after your investments. So what did I pay to Moneyfarm for the 10.98% return that they've actually got me? Now, it's important to note that my 10.98% is net of fees. And when we talk about fees, often we use percentage numbers. And I often believe that it's easier for people to grasp how much you're paying in fees when you turn that into a monetary amount. And for me, from February up until today, currently I have paid £9.20 in management fees to Moneyfarm for the performance that they've got me. And again, that 10.98 is net of fees. So again, putting this into monetary amounts, that 10.98% is £164.98 or 89 pence, whatever it was. And I've paid £9.20 in fees. When you think of it that way, you have to ask yourself, if you are really, really busy, are you okay paying £9.20 over a 10-month period? It's almost like a pound, if a little less than a pound a month, in order to have a team look after your investment. That is only a question that you can answer. I can't answer that for you. I have a saying when I was working in Canary Wharf, cost is only an issue in the absence of value. You have to ask and weigh up the benefit of having a team look after your investments for you and what that gives you back in exchange of value for the cost that you're paying them. This isn't going to work and be right for absolutely everybody, clearly, but for someone who is busy, this may stack up. The other thing that I thought I'd mention whilst we're talking about Moneyfarm, and I'll show you this on the app actually, is that they've actually recently just launched socially responsible investment strategy, so ESG. So it's a really, really hot topic right now in the investment world, particularly actually from a societal point of view. It's quite a hot topic. Investing ethically, reducing greenhouse gases, cleaning up our oceans, making sure that we actually have a world to actually live in 20 to 30 years' time, and it's not going to be completely polluted. A lot of investment houses are moving more and more towards using money to force changes in businesses, in sectors, in governments, really, to be able to make the future more sustainable. And I think it's really, really good news that they're doing this now with Moneyfarm, and they're just again another one of the many providers out there making ESG and ethical investing something that is really, really important at the center of what they essentially do. So I hope you found that really, really useful. I know that there'll be questions. I know that there will be maybe people who are still maybe asking that question of, is it really worth looking at investing on an active basis versus a passive basis? I take a little bit of a dual approach. I've got some passive ones. I've got the S&P 500 and the VUSA with Vanguard. I've got a little bit of money with these guys. And actually, if I look at my overall investment portfolio, and maybe I need to do a video on this actually and review my entire investment portfolio for 2021. But I would say that I probably have maybe 2/3 of what I've got invested overall, invested in managed options in some way, shape, or form. I will do a video on that. But hey, hope that was useful, guys.